So, how can we make our own components? This is where programming comes in. So, welcome guys, you have reached this stage where you can now program in Unity. So, you can add your components, your custom components by programming any type of component that you want to create. Now, you immediately have some type of freedom. You have this liberty to make any component that you want. You can create projectiles, meaning bullets flying. You can create sound effects. You can create all kinds of weird, wonky, complex behavior using programming. Now, that is the power of programming, and that is why many computer scientists appreciate the programming language, is because you have the freedom to do virtually anything you want. Now, I'm just going to give you an introduction to how you can harness that power in Unity. So, first of all, let's learn how to organize. Click your assets and right-click and create a folder of your own. And when you create this folder, you're immediately directed to how you're going to name your folder. Basically, we're going to write as scripts, okay? I have created my own scripts folder, so I'm not going to do it. Immediately, since the names kind of, overlap, it shows you scripts 1. I'm going to delete this because I already have my scripts. So, double-click scripts, and I'm just going to delete this because I'm going to show you how you can create your own. Right-click, and in order to create your own script, meaning your own component, programmable component, right-click, create, and click C# script. Now immediately it's going to say what you're going to name this script. I'm just going to first say hello world. Hello world. Now this is the most basic script that we can make in Unity, but I'm going to show you one more thing. You click on this tab. This is called the console tab. Now the console tab is used for debugging your video game. Now what is debugging? Debugging is the process where you check errors in your code or errors in your game, or check if your video game actually works in a programming context. Basically, if you run your game, you don't know specifically where your game might have errors or where your game works or not. That requires some deeper level analysis, meaning you can use your console or messages that you can pop in this console in order to see which part in your code is wrong. Now, as you can see in this tab, you have this danger symbol, you have the triangular warning symbol, and you have a message box. This is solely used for debugging. Well, let me show you. This is a danger sign, meaning it's an error. Okay, you can actually code whether if your program has errors in your program. You can code whether if your program has warnings, or you can code whether if your program will generate messages just to notify how your component is behaving. Now this is a component, right? The programmable script that you're going to program. So let me just show you how you can interact with your console. Double click hello world, and immediately it's going to give you Atom running, and it's going to give you this type of program. So don't worry about these extraneous features for now. And I'm just going to introduce to you what start and update is, okay? So start runs when you actually start your game. Only when you start your game. Okay, so before we kind of code, I'm just going to explain basically I'm going to explain the basic features in programming, okay? So we're going to learn about functions in programming. Now, in order to understand what a function is, I'm just going to give you a bunch of examples of what a function actually is. So, the synonyms of a function is action, like move, talk, walk. Shoot, meaning shoot a bullet in your game. Okay. Sing, dance. These are actions. Let's have another one. Behavior. What is a behavior? A set of actions. For example, running is a behavior. It's a set of actions where you move your two legs in a regular form, right? You move your left leg and you immediately stomp your left leg, and you lift your right leg, and then you stomp your right leg, and then you move your left leg, and you continue on that process in order for you to run. I don't know, let me draw. Okay, this is your left leg. Well, you can't see that, and this is your right leg. I'm trying to visualize right now, and I don't know, this is how you run, right? You just repeat this action. It's a set of actions. One action, you lift your left leg. The next action, you lift your right leg while you're stomping your left leg. That's a behavior. A personality, I'm just going to write in here. Personality is what? Is a set of behaviors. A set of behaviors. You can have a happy personality where you skip as you walk, where you laugh whenever you can talk with your friends. You can be a grumpy personality where you just you just only walk, you never run. You're always grumpy when you talk with your friends, right? Those are a set of behaviors. Now all of these guys are actually functions. So what are functions? They are actions that you can code. And those actions are not limited to a single action. You can have multiple, you can have sets of actions. You can have a set of behaviors inside of a single function. So if you think about it, it's quite an advanced feature where you can have the power to create this type of complex behavior. You can code a set of actions and you can make it as a single function. And you can use these single functions in order to make a higher degree of functions. So this is a quite interesting topic. I'm just going to give you some overview. So for example, let's say I create a function called run, right, in a program, and run, I just say, well, move forward. And this is my function. I'm just going to put squiggly brackets, right, just to kind of show you whether if move forward is inside of this run function. Now I can create a higher degree function by saying what? Like strutting. Okay, strutting. What's strutting? Well, you kind of run, right? You can run, and what's strutting basically? You kind of run, and it's basically skipping, right? Skipping or strutting. You kind of run for a split second, and you kind of walk for the next split second. So you kind of, I don't know, you use a pattern to kind of, give a balance between walk and run. That's strutting, okay? Now I can create another personality by saying, well, being confident, for example. And I can put a bunch of conditions like, if he wants to run, then you would strut, right? Or else, I don't know, or else just stand still, right? Now imagine that stand still is another function that I've made. So can you see some kind of something that I'm trying to do? Well, this is what we call as abstractification. Now, abstractification is where you kind of build on top of something that is much more fundamental. right? Something that's more fundamental, but you're building on top of these guys to make a more complex behavior or to make a complex function. Much like where we have said the action, many actions have behavior, many behaviors have personality. This is a form of abstractification. Now, in programming, when you kind of use functions, make sure you understand that you have the ability to abstractify your code. Basically, that means you can create, starting from the most basic parts, in your program, try to create and build on top of them like Lego blocks to make them much more complex. So let's take a look at this code, okay? These are what we call as functions, okay? Now I'm going to show you the basic structure of what a function is. A function has these parentheses after a name. This is the name of the function. Like what we said as run, walk, talk. So I can show you how you can make a function. Void run. And I put squiggly brackets after this run. Now this means that I can define my function, or this is the place where I can put a set of actions. For example, like what's running? Like, I don't know, lift left leg, for example, and lift right leg, for example, right? And I just loop it while true. You're gonna learn this, but basically I'm looping this entire function forever. I'm looping this, right? So as I keep on looping this, I lift the left leg, I lift the right leg. Now does that work? Well, no, I have to stomp my left leg, right? And I have to stomp my right leg. Now let's take a look. Lift it, I stomp it, I lift the right leg, I stomp the right leg, and as soon as I stomp the right leg, I lift the left leg, and I kind of keep on, making the pattern. Now I have to define my function. Like, this is nowhere in the code, for example, so I will create like another function. I will create the stomp left leg, right? And I will create the lift right leg, stomp right leg, and I will define it. For example, hey, how do you basically lift your left leg? Okay, so this is a harder problem now. So then you will research and hey, how do I lift my left leg of a character in Unity? And then I would kind of learn how to do animation, right? Animation, and I will kind of create an animation on lifting my left leg. I will create an animation of stopping my left leg, for example, right? Can you see like the overall pattern on how you can code? I hope you do. Now this is like an example, and I believe that, in order to teach you like the power of coding, I just have to show you examples because I cannot kind of explain this to you. But anyways, this is a function, right? You're defining this function, and these two functions are default in Unity. The start function only runs whenever you start the game, and it does not run again. So this is the place where it only runs once. The update function is a function where it runs every time the game is running. So as the game runs, it keeps on running in loops. Now I'll show you this in an example. Now type debug.log hello world. Okay. Now debug.log, this lets you print messages in the console. Okay. Debug.log, the log is a function where you print the message in here. Not the warning, not the error, but this message. Okay. So this is hello world. Now let me just save this. Go to File, click Save, or press Command S, for example. Command S, and automatically you'd see it saved by looking at the blue dot disappearing. Go to Unity, and as you can see, it's just compiling. It's processing, and it's done. It's saved. Now, in order to, this is merely a component, right? Remember that this is merely a component. So in order to make this component inside of our game, you have to drag your component inside of anywhere in the system. I'm just going to drag it inside of my main character. So your main character now has a component called Hello World. Let's see how the console acts right now, okay? So let's say I run, and immediately I just have one Hello World. Like I said, the start function only runs once when you start the game. So basically, you have the time, right? At hour 15, 53 minutes, 0.00 seconds flat. Now, this is also coincidence. It prints Hello World. That also means that the game started at hour 15:53. Okay? Now you get the picture. Now, let's say I use it inside the update. Cut it, paste it, and let's say I put in the update function. Now, this is running, right? Oh, for the people who does not, what if this does not run? Hit Command R. Then it's going to refresh. Okay, that's the command for refresh in Unity. If your program is not compiling or not updating, right, as you can see, hit Command R to refresh, okay? All right, so let's run this thing, and let's see how it goes. Okay, so as you can see, Hello World is running, and it's running every frame of the game. The update function runs per frame in the game. Video game, if you have ever played video games, you might know this term, like frames per second. That means how fast does your screen refresh, right? How fast does your screen refresh? If it's 30 frames per second, your screen refreshes 30 times per second. The update function runs every frame, meaning what? If it's like 30 frames per second, meaning it updates 30 times per second. So in my computer, it might be about 60 frames per second. So this is running, for example, like 60 times per second. So this is what the update function does, okay? All right, so that is the basics of Unity coding. Feel free to take a look into, well, how can I print errors? How can I print warnings, right? You can Google in Unity, like say, how to print error messages in Unity. Then it will show you a very high quality guide, a very simple guide on how you can print those things. So that is the basics in coding, and I will see you guys in the next video, and I'm going to talk about how you can now put actual interactions.